Hi, everybody. This is Melinda Gallant, and you are joining me today in my living room in the lovely Town Neck section of Sandwich. Very upscale, Town Neck. Anyway, I just want to welcome you today. This is all so unusual for all of us, and it certainly is for me because I'm not that technically great, but I'm technically going to do this. I'm going to give you another Cape conversation, and it's going to be fabulous with the wonderful David Kuehn, who is the executive director of the Kuehn Center for the Arts. So come along, let's have another Cape conversation. Hi, everybody. I'm Melinda Gallant, and I am here with the most wonderful, brilliant, terrific, talented man who runs a great organization called Kuehn Center for the Arts. We're both far away from each other because we're doing our proper distancing as we're supposed to do. So David Kuehn from Kuehn Center for the Arts, executive director and man extraordinaire, how are you?
I'm hanging in there, Melinda. How are you doing?
Well, I think between the two of us, we may have one brain today, but that's a whole other topic. You're doing better than I am, for sure.
I don't know. It's certainly brain overload. I think everyone is experiencing some kind of unusual strain on their psyche and their brain. So, I think we're in good company.
Well, anyway, so, the one thing we were talking about before we got started here, you and I were talking about artists in general and how they're perceiving all this. And I just mentioned, I'm sure there's a play being written somewhere called Pandemic, if not a TV movie for sure. But it is amazing how all of this really affects the artists on Cape Cod and of course across the world, but certainly locally. I just, from all the social media that I'm reading, they're touched by this and they're worried about humanity.
Mm-hmm. And I think you see locally and also globally what artists do in the face of crisis and uncertainty. There is so much creativeness going on out there trying to make sure that humanity, that we don't disconnect from one another. How do we keep dancing? How do we keep singing? How do we do the things that all of us are used to doing in what used to be a normal fashion and deliver it in a different way? And what the future looks like, none of us really know, but you see the value of arts and culture to a society just based on social media. You know that I've always used the phrase when I'm at our annual meetings or any platform I have, where I believe that what we offer our community is as important as the air we breathe and the food we eat, the water we drink. And it's not, the arts are not disposable. They're not this nice thing, great if you can have it, and if you can't, big deal. It's fundamental. What we do saves lives. We've seen it over and over. There are so many statistics about the value of arts and culture throughout society. So I think you see the artistic community trying to figure out not only how we get through it, but what does it look like when we get out of it. We have you can do a virtual tour of this gallery exhibition that we almost canceled because it was an open juried show, which for anyone who doesn't know what that means, it means that anyone can drop off a piece of artwork and it will be considered to be in the show. Some people get in, some don't. And the drop-off date happened only a week ago Monday, just as things were starting to shut. The restaurants weren't shut yet, but you knew they were going to be. Social distancing was being practiced. So we decided to go ahead and practice our social distancing. We put the word out that if people feel comfortable and want to drop off work, we don't know what's going to happen. 125 people came in and dropped off artwork that Michelle Laud,
God bless her,
in the galleries, knowing, but we knew that we would be shutting down to the public for a certain amount of time, but then we also knew when we're able to open the doors, we have this beautiful show up with local artists from the Cape that we'll be able to invite people in and take a look at and enjoy. So it was very bittersweet because I had to lay off the entire staff last week. Fortunately, it looks like that everyone's going to be able to benefit from the unemployment insurance, and
Right.
all of our best practices over the years have positioned us to be able to actually take care of the staff that we have and position ourselves to come out hopefully healthier than ever once we get through all of this.
Right. So if I want to see that virtual tour, where can I find it? I
So
know
if
it's on Facebook.
it is on, it's on Facebook, the Katuitt Center for the Arts Facebook page. Also, if you go to our website,
Hmm.
there is on the home page, it's a little scrolling section, but Daniel created a page called Recent Video Content. And I just started yesterday uh, pulling together some of my favorite moments from past productions.
Hmm.
Uh, but at the very first video we posted was a video of the staff commenting on their favorite works from this show. So you can
Yeah.
see them both places.
Yep. Wonderful.
I have to tell you though, uh, I posted yesterday a video clip from Grey Gardens
I saw it.
in 2014, and it's like so emotional. Then the one I'm going to be posting later today from Company, and it's like I don't know how I'm going to get through this project because every number I'm like just sobbing because they're so moving. And the thing is though, I've been here for 10 years now, and the being able to take a minute and look back at some of the stuff that our local artists and actors and musicians have done is so moving. It's just incredible.
Well, you celebrated your 10th anniversary on the day of the kind of shutting down, right?
I did. Yeah,
So I guess when
I
we
didn't
reopen
even
this
I didn't
champagne,
even tell anyone.
you didn't tell anyone. No, because you couldn't eat. They can't bring you a cake,
I know.
anything. I heard the head of Mass General this morning on television say he really dislikes the term social distancing, that he would rather have it called physical distancing,
Mhm.
because he said we need social connecting now more than ever. So if I'm sitting at home and I can't go to the Katuitt and I'm not even a member, I could actually go to your website or go to your Facebook page and I could see all this wonderful stuff, you
And it's going
know?
to be more and more of it every day. And we're looking at possibly doing some live streamed events where maybe we have like a poetry night, and people can even interact somehow. We haven't figured all of the details out, but we're looking at every way that we can possibly connect.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, where is Katuitt Center for the Arts? I mean, here we are now. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Who would have thunk it?
mhm.
And luckily, though, you've got the filling station, which is now the pottery studio. It's open.
So, but well,
It's
it
open closed.
yeah, it was open for a minute, and then we had to close it. So there are everything isn't bad news. We, as you may or may not, well, but the viewers might not know that we are in the middle of a really ambitious capital expansion campaign. And from 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, when we kicked this thing off, we messaged to the public that we have big, bold dreams. And we know that they're going to be expensive and it's going to take a lot of resources to get it done. But we wanted to approach it so that we do it one phase at a time. And so the first two phases have been complete. That we raised the money, we did the project. The second phase was the clearing of where the old bakery used to be, that whole lot, and then the renovation of the gas station into the McGraw family ceramic studio. Imagine if this happened when we were in the middle of
Oh
construction,
my gosh, yeah.
and if we had a big hole in the ground where the septic was going to go, or we were just taking the gas tanks out of the ground. Um, it, it could have been an, a construction site for a year or more. You know, we don't know. So I'm really grateful for the fact that our approach to the campaign has proved to be prudent. And when we're open again, we have a beautiful pottery studio that generates income to the organization. And then we can just, you know, figure out where we go from here.
Well, my husband Joe has a pot that has been fired and it's just sitting there. And I think it's very funny because a lot of people know that he's an artist, but what's funny is he's definitely not a potter.
Well, I'm not either.
Okay.
I learned already.
Yes. Well, as he said,
I thought it would be. I thought I would be like Demi Moore in Ghost. No, it's hard. It's really hard. But
well,
it's
what bothered him the most, he said, was you get your hands so dirty. He's a painter. I mean, he gets paint on his hands, but it comes off. He goes,
awesome.
that it's like under your fingernails. And he goes, you have to have a real love of mud. And I guess he never really had a real love of mud.
And you can't just, well, we do, being from the Midwest, don't we?
Well, that's a whole different. Yes, walking around cow pies is what.
But you know, so you also can't pour the thick clay, gross hand stuff down the drain. You know, you have to be really careful about all that stuff. So yeah.
It was just way he loved the his teacher, who is the gentleman who's running it, and his name just went out of my head.
Oh, Neil Grant.
Neil, yes. He said he was so great and, you know, so informative, and, you know, he goes, oh no, very encouraging. You're doing great. And he goes, no, I'm not. So anyway, he wants to bring home, though. He said if it were 20 years ago when I was smoking, he said it would be an ashtray. But he said now he goes, maybe you could hold a bottle of wine on the table.
There you go. There you go.
So anyway.
Well, I can run over and grab it for him if you want.
Okay, well, that's okay. You know, I don't think he's in any big hurry, but you know, if you're in there, you can see if you see it. So anyway, enough about us. So where do you go from here? You're going to open. I mean, this is going to end. What's going to happen when this ends?
When this ends, we're going to open. We have a beautiful exhibition on the walls. This happened literally the week that we were to open Tommy. And man, I have to tell you, they rocked the roof off the thing.
I heard them.
Yeah, and really incredible cast, and Tristan DiVincenzo does a beautiful job directing it and with the whole production value. So, you know, we're still, so the plan is to open Tommy, and we're also in rehearsal, and I was so moved. Just last night, there was a musical called the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. You may have heard of.
I may have heard of that.
a Zoom virtual rehearsal, and I popped on and I got so choked up just seeing each person and saying hello virtually, going through the script in their own homes, and you know, hanging on to there's so much work that people don't know. That the way the actors have to, they learn their lines, the rehearsals, the blocking, and this is all that, you know, they have jobs and lives, and it's hundreds and hundreds of hours of volunteer time for the love of the work. So I am not about to let all that go to waste. We will be doing both of those shows.
Well, I have to laugh because one of the actors, I am directing it, folks, in case you didn't know, and one of the actors, she plays Coney Bear, which is a male part, but she plays it as a guy. And her name is Samantha, but we call her Sam. And she put a picture up. She was rehearsing down in her basement, wherever that may be. And so she wrote as the hashtag, the cast that wouldn't quit. That's what she's calling it. Hashtag the cast that wouldn't quit. So the joke was, well, we'll just do it out in the yard if nobody wants to do it. We're that desperate. It was just real, and it was so, obviously, it was a wonderful tribute to them. and also to the production staff that was online, and Katie Coughlin, God love you, trying to work with the music, sending them the music. So she had everybody mute. The music was playing and everybody was singing muted because you can't sing all together on Zoom. And
Mhm.
it was just it was totally amazing. And we went through the whole play. So we've gone through it
It's
once.
awesome, and you know, I mean, that's a big testament. And I also have to say that you know, we sold a lot of theater tickets in advance, and a lot of tuitions to classes, and uh, almost without exception, everyone has either said, "We'll reschedule when it's time," or "Consider my ticket price a donation to the
Wow.
center." That there, we've had to issue very few refunds because we're strapped right now. That's part of the reality. But the way the community is, you know, people aren't like clamoring at the door to get their money back. They're saying, you know, we'll be there for you when you're open and when we can all get back together.
That's interesting to me. I don't think people understand that. They would think, oh, they probably have a lot of money at this time of year, but this isn't the time of year you have a lot of money. This is the time of year you're really kind of walking that thin line.
Well, we traditionally have cash flow issues this time of year for
Hmm.
obvious reasons. And but what happened was our income literally stopped 2 weeks ago. So it wasn't only the ticket sales that we were bringing in between $3,000 and $6,000 a day in
Right.
revenue from people taking classes and buying tickets. So that stopped. But we also have within our operating budget some of our personal patrons and donors who have pledged money to help us operate every year as part of the mix. Um, Without exception, their money is tied up in the stock market.
Yeah.
So you know that we've had notes where I would like to honor my pledge for the year, but I can't do it right now. I have to wait until we get through the crisis. So it really was a 1-2 punch. And you know, we're not a typical school. We don't have funding. Uh, big amounts of funding from the government. There aren't these other sources. You know, with those two drying up at one time, we really had to put the brakes on, reevaluate, figure out how we get through it. And you know, I'm hoping that that all of the government assistance programs that we qualify for will be reaching out to, but we certainly need the help to get through the other side.
Um, so if somebody was watching this, suppose, and they had money in their mattress instead of in the stock market, how would they contact you?
Well, you can reach me by calling 774-368-0986. You can also make donations through our website. Pretty much if you log on to CatuitCenterForTheArts.org, the first thing that comes up will be a donate button. Those are the two easiest ways. And you know, we have a really loyal membership base, and as the memberships are coming up, we're asking people to, if they can, if they're in a position to go ahead and renew. You know, where I'm spending a lot of time working on ways to be relevant, to keep communicating, to give virtually the public some experiences while we're you know, not quite sure how long it's going to be before we can open up.
Now, are you just one last thing, because you do a big party in the summer,
Mhm.
and I don't know if you'll be able to do it exactly when you would normally do it. Are you planning on maybe doing something this summer to celebrate the fact that the arts are back after this craziness gets over with?
I think we should, and I don't think that we'll do the kind of auction gala thing, but I would like to do a version of that. Um, but you know, the difference might be that we uh, have Pizza Barbone come and sell pizza
Right.
and have a cash bar. And you know, so these galas are very expensive to put on, but
Yes.
we raise a lot of money. And right now may not be the time to do that kind of thing. What we do want to do is celebrate our performers and visual artists in a big, big way. You know, there are people out there who, not just from our theater, but many other places where productions were canceled. Falmouth Theater Guild had to push back Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, you know, a big show that everybody's excited about.
Right.
Uh,
They've got a car.
they had, yeah,
They
they
got
have a
the
car.
car.
They have a car. The college is going to do Spamalot, and you know, that got pushed back. Eventide had is it the Robber Bridegroom,
Yes.
uh, and so one of the ideas was like, hey guys, we should all get together at Katuitt in the summer and perform songs from the musicals that we couldn't do. Or, you know, I mean, there's a whole community that wants to come and just say, you know, we're here, we're relevant, we're ready to entertain you. So I look forward to that.
You know, I obviously feel sorry for all of the community theater groups on the Cape. The semi-professional ones, and then the straight just community theater folks. But I also feel sorry for the high schools. Those high schools that had, you know, I think Mashpee was doing Seussical, Sandwich was doing Company, and it turns out that their person, Kevin Lassett, they think has Corona, has the virus. So, you know, it's just so, that's what's so heart-wrenching to me. I mean, we'll all get by it as adults, but boy, those kids, they just sing and dance their hearts out for this stuff. So maybe next year they'll be able to perform whatever it is they want to perform. I hope so.
Well, and you think about all these, you know, uh, the theater programs, the sports programs, you know, the
Everything.
same where and it's all about the communing and you know, not being able to hug people. I think that there are psychological things going on with all of us that we don't really understand yet.
Right. Mine is having half a brain, but we won't go there. Anyway, David, thank you so much for being with me today at a long distance. And I'm going to say we're physical distancing. We're not social distancing.
Is that like conscious uncoupling?
Yeah, I think it's got conscious uncoupling. I think maybe. I don't know.
Phrase.
I don't understand. See, I'm from a different era.
Consciously uncouple.
Yeah. Sometimes I could do that with Joe, but we won't go there. Or he could do it with me, I should say. Anyway, so thanks so much for joining me today. It was great. And we'll talk again soon.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Wow, wasn't David Kuehn terrific? Oh, he's so great. He's a great guy. He's fun to know. And if you ever get a chance to go over to Katuitt Center for the Arts to see a show, come see Spelling Bee when it finally gets up there. Or if you get to go to Wine and Wednesdays, or if you get to go to the Black Box, or if you decide you want to take an art lesson or do some sculpting or do something fun, make sure you try to meet David. He's a very nice man. And I want to tell you, it's a real asset to everywhere here on the Cape, not just Katuitt. It's an asset for Sandwich, and it's an asset for Falmouth and Mashpee and all of Barnstable. It's a wonderful place to go. So I want to thank you for joining me today. It was great talking to David. It's great talking to anybody at this point. So I hope you survive well. Keep your distance, wash those hands, and we'll talk again real soon. Thanks a lot.